Seriously, what the f- is this prosecutor doing? That was rhetorical. You do not have to answer it because I already know the answer. She's bringing her murder game to a competency trial. And every time she runs into problems, which she's going to continue if she keeps trying to put into evidence items that have no evidentiary value, she then just turns swiftly to hate and harassment and humiliation instead, hoping to stir the jury's emotions enough that they'll vote to put Lindsay Clancy in prison for the rest of her life. You see, I've covered a number of murder trials here. This is not your prototypical murder trial. Normally, you have to prove to the jury there is a murder, and here's all the evidence that goes into proving to you that this is a murder. And by the way, that's the person who did it. You need to prove these two things. There's a murder, and here's who did it. We already have those two things. We already know that 3 children lost their lives, and we all know that their mother did it. We all know that. In this particular trial, this prosecutor has an obligation to prove beyond reasonable doubt that Lindsay Clancy is every bit as mentally competent on that one day as she has been every other day of her life. The defense has said that she was suffering severe postpartum psychosis. That's not just the baby blues. That's not just regular depression. That is psychosis. And personally, in my opinion, I am not a medical expert, but from just what I'm hearing and what I've picked up by researching this a little bit, I do feel that she was undiagnosed bipolar, and therefore any medication, doesn't matter how much, doesn't matter what dosage, doesn't matter how often, the wrong one can trigger very dangerous outcomes. And that's what the defense is saying. The defense is saying Lindsay loved her children. She would never harm her children. What happened that day was beyond her control. So every bit of witness testimony, every piece of evidence, everything that's argued in that court by that prosecutor should be directly aimed at proving that Lindsay Clancy was competent, that she knew exactly what she was doing, that she was methodical, she was controlling, she was an overachiever, she was a perfectionist, and when life wasn't going her way, she chose, in her right mind, she chose to murder her own children. That's what she should be proving. So I've got to ask you, showing articles of baby clothing, how does that go to Lindsay's competency? It doesn't. It doesn't have any other evidentiary value. It doesn't go to prove anything. We already know these children suffered a horrible fate. We already know that. So showing what color robe Cora was wearing doesn't provide any evidence as to Lindsay's state of mind. The parade of first responders that she put on the stand yesterday was an absolute joke. And by the way, those poor people having to relive this because this prosecutor can't figure out how to prosecute this case. A few videos ago, I talked about a pretrial motion that the defense had submitted because there was, I think it was 18 first responders that were originally on the witness list. Kevin Reddington, the defense attorney, said this is wildly repetitive because they're going to come in, they're going to get up on the stand, and they're all going to tell the same story. I arrived, here's what I saw, here's how I helped, here's the story. It's going to be the same thing over again. And if it's wildly repetitive, it's prejudicial against the defendant. The judge didn't really rule on it. He said, well, we'll see how it goes. And the prosecutor argued, but every single one of them is going to tell a different story. Every single one of them has a different take on the day and can provide valuable information. And as if we're too stupid to catch on to it, did you notice how every single person they put up there, they salt and peppered these little, dare I say, meaningless questions. So you ride around all day in an ambulance or a fire truck? Are there 2 of you in the front or just one? Do you wear a uniform? They could argue to the judge, well, he's providing information that the other one didn't provide. They all still told the same story of that horrific day when they're called to the scene. They all discuss how they went into the backyard. They saw Lindsay laying on the ground after her failed suicide attempt. They heard Patrick screaming that he needed help from inside the home. A number of them ran into the home, did all of the first responder activities, CPR and all of this to try and save any of those children. They testified that they weren't breathing, or where in the house they were found and what position they were in, and here was who was near who. We heard all of that. And you could tell that this was still a scene that haunts them to this day. Not one single one of those 10 or 11 first responders said anything about Lindsay's mental state that day, which is what the prosecution is trying to prove. And this defense attorney played it perfect, because I'll tell you, when he's not really cross-examining, that means he's not even willing to give this any more airtime, right? These are all just foundational witnesses who are just repeating the same things and the same facts of the case that we already know. See, I'm petty AF, and after every single one of them testified, I would have just stood up and I would have asked one question. From what you saw that day at the scene and the actions you took that day at the scene, are you able to sit up on the stand right now and have an opinion about Lindsay Clancy's state of mind that day? I would have kept bringing it right back to the state of mind question. Kevin Reddington stayed quiet. He's much smarter than me, because he's handling her defense perfectly. In my opinion, we just spent an entire day watching these prosecutors showboat, humiliate, harass all of these people, forcing them to live through this harrowing experience again. And for what? It didn't move this case forward at all. We're no closer to understanding if Lindsay Clancy was in the right frame of mind that day or not.